I want to start with saying this is not a video about how much I hate Tears of the Kingdom. So if you came to this video looking for that opinion, I'm so sorry. However, this video is geared towards all of the complaints that I had about the game in my 180 hours of playtime. It is my belief that the better a piece of artwork or a product is, makes it a lot easier to fine-tune and find out its flaws. There's so much to love about Tears of the Kingdom, so much in fact that it's really simple to laser focus on the problems that I did have and express them to y'all. And if you're someone that has a defense for any of the complaints that I list out today, or if you're someone who strongly agrees with me, please let me know in the comments down below. I genuinely love discussing with my community and your voice matters to me a lot. If you're looking for a much more general or positive review on Tears of the Kingdom, I actually released one on the channel. So if you're curious, either after or before watching this video, feel free to check that one out as well. Now, with that all said, here's what I hated about The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. To start on a lighter note, I want to talk about the game's UI design. In my mind, the goal of a game's UI is meant to provide as smooth of a transition as possible between the player and whatever's available in their menu. And I get it, there's a lot of items in Tears of the Kingdom. Getting through that menu takes a full learning curve to really get used to. The most frustrating part is that the UI design choices made in Tears of the Kingdom are worse than the ones made in Breath of the Wild. In Breath of the Wild, the main menu isn't the most elegant thing on the planet, but the navigation of it is relatively simple, and outside of having to access items with the D-pad menu, it's serviceable. But for whatever reason in Tears of the Kingdom, the bar at the top meant to indicate what type of item you're displaying in your menu washes out the color of the icons meant to indicate each section. So until you develop the muscle memory, for the first few hours of the game, you're guessing as to which section you're flipping to in the main menu. I know I wear glasses, but my eyes are not so bad as to not feel like this is a concern. I was hoping that this issue would get addressed in a post-release patch, but no. The only thing that's changed about the game since release is how many Zonai wing gliders I can make out of thin air. Just please change the hue of either the menu icons or the bar itself in the main menu. I'd really like to see what I'm scrolling to in there. In terms of the D-pad item menus, I don't love it. However, the more you play the game, the more it learns your favorites, and that does ease the pain of having to scan for key size to shoot out. The ability to auto-sort to high damage, Zonai, and favorites is nice, but it's far from perfect. Personally, I'd like a toggle that sorts to highest sell value, because sometimes searching for those diamonds gets old. And admittedly, I understand that the game has a lot of collectibles that all play into your moment-to-moment gameplay. It's a challenge to lock down a fluid item management system, and I honestly don't have the solution. But I do know that I don't love scrolling for 20 straight seconds just to find my Octorok balloons. And again, I offer credit where it's due. I do think that the options to sort by fuse power, Zonai, and most use are extremely helpful tools to ease the pain of the UI. However, this does not make it something I enjoy interacting with. If any of you watching have any ideas for a more elegant solution, feel free to let me know down in the comments below, nicely. Now, I'd be lying if I said that the narrative in Tears of the Kingdom wasn't handled vastly better than it was in Breath of the Wild. While Tears of the Kingdom still uses the memory-based format for storytelling, the game clearly wanted the player to find these memories a lot easier than in Breath of the Wild. If you remember, give or take 6 years ago when we were all playing the game, Breath of the Wild's memory system was almost intentionally convoluted. It involved using pictures to find landmarks tucked away in the middle of Hyrule to find a glowing spot that reviewed the fast approaching death of the champions. Spoilers, I guess. And in a normal playthrough, you had to go way out of your way to find any of these points of interest. And what you gained for this memory hunt, while interesting, was ultimately only important to an enthusiast. Sure, we got to witness the budding relationship between Link and Zelda, and of course we got to witness the war of guardians on humans. However, from the player's perspective, we already know all of this happened. We were just missing details and maybe a little context. On the contrary, in Tears of the Kingdom, a mystery that you unravel by looking into Zelda's experience in the past is engaging and thought-provoking as we go about our journey in search of a way to take down our ultimate evil. On top of all this, the memories are these big-ass paintings on the ground, visible from Canari's house. Y'all watch Naruto? Anyway, the memories being so huge and in the player's face, and what they add to the narrative being so important is a huge leap from what Breath of the Wild had to offer, or what they were able to achieve from a story perspective. At this point in our little narrative section, you might be wondering, dog, when does the talk start? And don't worry, I'm getting to it. My largest issues with how the narrative is presented has everything to do with the dungeon areas of Tears of the Kingdom. My first destination was the same as many others. I went to the Hebrew region. I also called it the Herba region for the first 4 hours of playtime. I got really into Gen 9 Pokemon. I don't want to talk about it. This was my favorite region of the 4, 5, 6, Anyway, my favorite regional mission. I love Tulin's quick turnaround from a smug brat to my best little buddy. Also, if Tulin blows away your items, skill issue. Like, he's the best one at the 4. Shut up. 5. Anyway, all I really needed was some recognition of his skills and some faith in his abilities. The story of him meeting with his ancestor and taking up the role of the sage was incredibly heartwarming. It left me excited for what the other regions would have to offer and the other sage awakenings that I'd witnessed. Until I realized that every single post-dungeon cutscene is almost a one-for-one retelling of the exact same story. Literally, every dungeon is a reskin of the imprisoning war, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, I was mashing dialogue by the time I got to the Yunobo drug ring arc. I hope I don't read as dramatic here, but it was wholeheartedly disappointing. The idea of the original sages from a distant past guiding my modern day companions is really cool until I hear them read their lines off a used napkin at me in every major dungeon. Minoru is the large exception here, but the other 4, absolutely awful. Super Mario 64 levels of storytelling. And another thing, the masks. Why? I wouldn't mind them so much if I knew what these ancient champions of the Secret Stones looked like, but we don't. It's beyond bland to not only face a faceless character, but a faceless character that gives you almost nothing as an individual. Maybe Nintendo thought the mystic vibes around the ancient heroes would be engaging to us as a player, but paired with the cookie-cutter dialogue, it really just lends to the assumption that I'm not supposed to care about these characters, despite the fact that I am clearly meant to care about them. By the 3rd dungeon, I was ready to mute every cutscene and try on my guy snoring cosplay. Ridiculous. Another pain point for me has to be the Tears questline. You know, the Tears of the Kingdom.
Boo! You stink!
If you're still watching the video, thanks. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. For every cutscene, at the end of the memory, Link gives this blink gasp reaction. And while not ideal, it doesn't bother me too much. Link in this timeline is a more stoic and reserved individual than he is in others, so maybe he's just taking this all in. But at the final memory, when he realized Zelda was the light dragon this whole time, really, a gasp. You see the princess you swore to protect and clearly are involved with romantically transform into an eternal dragon with no sense of self, and all you have as a reaction is a strong breath. My cried. Why am I more upset than Link from Hyrule? Deep breaths. Deep breaths. If I keep talking about this, it'll turn into rambling, and I will ramble if y'all let me. If there's any other gripes that you had with the game's narrative and how it was told, please tell me in the comments nicely. Now, I know that I stated in my initial review that the dungeons having themes and boss fights with a variety of mechanics improve them greatly over Breath of the Wild's offerings. While they still pale in comparison to some of the fun shrine puzzles found in the game, I'll offer credit in that dungeons do offer shrines within them that emulate the dungeon's environment and offer those fun puzzles. So while they are inside of a shrine context, they're still within the dungeon, and I'll count it as a part of the entire experience. The Zora area doing this best in my opinion with the water gravity puzzles, those were a lot of fun. But I believe the biggest offender and borderline only offender in this issue is the Goron area. That done being the most boring interpretation of find the objectives among the 5 main dungeons. And to add on to that, the lead up to the Goron area dungeon was okay. The fight with Yunobo was okay. The fight with that big dragon was alright. It depends on how you feel about the flying mechanics with Yunobo's sage ability, or at the time, ability, but I digress. Honestly, the more I sit here and think about it, my only issue might be with the Goron area dungeon. While all the other areas share this find objectives mechanic, this dungeon does the worst job of masking it in a way that's fun to me. The Zora's area shares the boring 5 points issue, but the lead up and the shrines in the area make up for it, in my opinion. That solidifies that Yunobo and his in-game objective and his sage ability and his storytelling are the worst in the game, bar none. El Nobo. Guiding Yunobo's ass around Lava Land and looking where to play Wii Bowling with him was a massive drag. And in repeat playthroughs, I will grimace at the idea of repeating that section of the game. If any of y'all share any of this pain or have any different issues with the dungeons of this game, please let me know in the comments. All in all, I've gone over the big bucket issues of the game for me. The video is only so short because I talk really fast. My apologies. But I do have some minor issues that don't necessarily demand a whole think piece, but are definitely things that bugged me in my first 180 hours. While I understand that there are plenty of techniques that Link had in his arsenal during Breath of the Wild that a large group of the players probably never used, I don't think an elegant solution is to make 10 plus different shrines to learn them in. Did I really need a shrine to teach me how to sneak walk and how to hit critical strikes? No, especially with how many genuinely interesting shrines are in this game that test the limits of the sandbox. It was extremely disappointing to enter a Shrine of Light and get hit with a tutorial prompt. These tutorials could have been offered in one long shrine experience focused on the basics of the game, or at least skippable to anyone who went to Tears of the Kingdom with this knowledge ahead of time. Just having 10 plus loading screens into boring shrine, into loading screen, oh my god, it was awful. Especially again, with how fun so many of the shrines are in the game, this was a huge downer every time I found one. Now, this doesn't matter to me that much, but I do wish the game's performance was the slightest bit more consistent. Mind you, it's a marvel that the sandbox works as it does anyway, but again, I'm being nitpicky on purpose, okay? The art design and animations of this game are fantastic, but a random heavy frame drop can really take a gamer out of an experience. Nothing profound here, I just like frames. And finally, in terms of my nitpicks, please stop patching out my dupe glitches. I want to speedrun and make millions of rupees, but that's besides the point. You can speedrun in the current patch without the dupe. Shut up. If I made you upset during any point in this video, understand that it comes from a place of passion. There's so much to love about Tears of the Kingdom. You don't need any help deciding whether you're going to buy that game or not. It's fantastic, and if you need to hear it, yes, please go play it. However, I do think these points of discussion are still important to have. When discussing a piece of artwork, I believe it equally important to both praise it and cover its flaws with equal amounts of attention. If you have any grievances with the game itself, or any points where you disagree with me and you'd like to discuss that, please let me know in the comments down below. But like, in a nice way. It would be super preferable. I'd love that, actually. And if you liked this video, watch another one. You'll enjoy that one too. I'll see y'all again soon, either here in a YouTube short or on my stream on twitch.tv/dinnerpants. I hope you have a great day, night, or whatever time zone that you're in. See y'all soon. Love y'all. Deuces. I didn't mean anything I said. It's a perfect game, zero flaws.